Gyampo, who's the CEO of the Ghana Venture Capital Association. I started by asking her how leaders and citizens across Africa were responding to these tariff hikes.
There's a lot of debate around how we, break the ties from the dependency of importation and, dependency on other regions on Africa's economic future. So some doom and gloom, but I think there is some, it's not all negative. I think it's just really a moment in time where a lot of African leaders and business people and investors are figuring out what we can do to increase our own productivity, our own resilience, our own economies.
What can you anticipate would be the impact of these tariffs on the economies of these countries?
It's really about strengthening the capacity of our local investment and SME industries. They are the ones that we really need to look at to see how we can build some level of resilience and really challenge a system that is dominated, that has not necessarily been of immense benefit to Africa. There are a lot of things that happen in Africa in terms of dumping of cheap, inferior and cheap products on our markets as well from other regions. So we need to tackle some of these issues, and maybe this is the time for us to have some very honest conversations about a system that has not always been very fair to Africa, and maybe put Africa first, as America is clearly doing now.
Which industries do you suspect could be hardest hit? Industries that relied on the African industries that relied on the U.S. market?
Food, things like diamonds, textiles, for example. There are going to be pressures on pricing for such products, and places like Tunisia or Botswana may be affected by those kinds of things. And we may see a knock-on effect on things like jobs and foreign investment, for example. Definitely, as I talked about, things like cocoa and coffee, we rely a lot on machinery that is imported, fuel that is imported. So there are going to be some knock-on effects and inflationary pressures across our markets. I definitely would see that. Do
you see retaliatory measures by African nations? Is that your fear?
I think the fear is that we are heavily import dependent in Africa. And so if we're having tariffs, obviously we are going to see prices go up, and prices will go up and have inflationary impacts on the stuff that we are relying on that we can't produce locally. And so I think inflation and the cost and access to services and goods in particular that are imported is the main concern. I'm not sure about retaliation. But we all know that Africa has a lot of products that the world desires and does take at to their own benefit, and not so much to Africa's benefit. And so that is still the system that we operate in, right? And so in terms of retaliation, it's hard to say what governments in Africa will do.
You've spoken about possible opportunities that there could be for African nations. Just paint a picture for us of what that may look like.
It is a moment for Africa to really check what it has on its doorstep in terms of competitive advantages. What can we produce locally and competitively compared to other nations? How can we increase our productivity and capabilities locally to feed our local and regional markets? We are going to have to adapt and be more resilient. And so this is, again, a moment in time where we're going to have to think very critically about how we invest locally, in local currency, for example, how we diversify, how we build infrastructure to enable us to trade and navigate local roads, railways, and those kinds of things to enable us to connect more as a regional bloc, and then, reduce some of the over-reliance that we have had on international forces and trade in particular.
Do you then see industries across Africa looking for new markets?
There'll be conversations happening around, who else can we partner with? Who else can we have a better relationship on a better, equal footing, and really develop the partnerships. Trade is meant to be a partnership that is mutually beneficial, rather than so antagonistic and, controversial and overall, maybe harmful to global security and trade and harmony and all those things that we need to see as a global community. I think that there will definitely be opportunities here for us to look more regionally as a continent of Africa, and also globally as well for other partners that are more aligned to our interests. And I think it's time for us to do that.
An earlier conversation there with Gyampo, the CEO of Ghana's Venture Capital Association. All right. Let's now get a sense on how this news is affecting some of those hit with the highest tariffs. I'm joined now from Lesotho's capital, Maseru, by Teboho Kobeli. In 2016, he founded Afri-Expo Textiles after noticing that the garment industry was mainly run by foreign investors. He now says his company employs 2,000 people, with 10% of their products going to the United States. Teboho, I imagine it's been a busy day for you, but thank you for joining us on the program. What was your immediate reaction when you heard that Lesotho would be hit by the second highest U.S. tariff in the world?
Thank you very much for having me. This has been one of the terrible days that happened to us as Basotho. We wake up this morning with the news that America has put around 50% tariffs on us. This has been a devastating day for us. We have been going up and down, meeting different stakeholders, government officials, ministers, meeting ourselves as industrialists, trying to look around what is it that what does this mean to us?
I mean, even as you think about what this means, it might be early to ask, but I'll still ask, what ideas are you having around how you may be forced to restructure your business in line with this news?
There are a couple of things that we are looking into. One of them is meeting up with the government, as like we did today. We met up with government officials, government ministers, to discuss a way forward. And the government confirmed a great support in textile, that while also they are looking into meeting up with the American government, they are with us. We must continue production, and then also think of how we continue business. So it's still early, like we're saying, but we are looking at different options, looking at other markets in Africa, in Europe, elsewhere. So, but we can't just shelf U.S. market. U.S. market is one of the very significant markets that we need to really do everything that we can to bring back that market.
Have you managed to have conversations with your staff about this news? What are they telling you?
Not just yet. It was too early to share because we were confused this morning during the course of the day. The workers kept working as normal, but we engaged the top management to make them aware, and they were already aware, and we told them that we are doing everything that we can to keep the jobs.